Welcome to our first week of class. So we're going to be starting off in business ethics. This will be your first week in it. It's a 7-week course. You can go down through the syllabus and get a quick overview of it. But what I'm going to do right now is just look through what is due in our first week and what are some tidbits that maybe you need to know about those so that you can succeed. So I like to go to modules. There's lots of different ways to get to your assignments each week, but I just like to go here because it just puts everything for each session in one place. So you can see here, this week we've got session one. Here's an agenda. It goes through the reading and a few other assignments that, I guess, parts of assignments that would be indicated in there. So if you're wondering what chapters am I supposed to read, or where do I find this specific, document that they're talking about, go here to this session one agenda. It'll have a lot of that information in there. The second part we have here is devotional. So again, you don't have any points. You can see down here, here's the ones that have points in them. Doesn't have any points with it, but I highly recommend spending some time to go through the devotional. It doesn't take a lot of time, and yet it has a big impact in my life, and especially as we're looking at a subject like ethics, we have to keep God at the center of everything we're doing. As soon as we put God out of the picture and religion, we're left with really nothing, just personal opinion. So I'd encourage you to spend a little bit of time each week in the devotional, even though there's not points in it. Something that can encourage you and help develop you spiritually. Where we have most of our points this week is actually in discussion. Most weeks you do have discussions. Before we look into it, let me just give you a couple quick reminders on that. So your initial post, so you read it, you look at it. Your initial post to the initial questions needs to be in by Thursday at midnight so that you don't lose any points. So that'll be on Thursday. The class starts on Monday each week. Have it in by Thursday. So it gives you a little time to go through it and then post it. And then you need two other responses. Make them significant. So it's not just I agree or well, that was a really good point, but dig into it. Try to think of different ways to sharpen iron as iron sharpens iron with other classmates. Point out things, give them some encouragement. All those things are appropriate, but give me about a paragraph or two of good content in responding to someone else's post. Looking at this specific discussion question for this week, you'll see that it's got a part A and a part B. So part A is going right over what the readings are for this week. So it's asking some questions based on chapter one and chapter three that you read this week. And it's going into, kind of the difference between legal and ethical. Is there a difference? Obviously, most of us would agree not everything legal is ethical and not everything ethical is necessarily coded into law. So this gets down into it and asks specifically about some of the Christians, and it gets you thinking there. Now, part B is where you're actually going to think based on the information gained from your readings and your personal experience that you've thought through up above. What are some principles that you believe are relative to your culture, your religion, your personal opinion? And how does a Christian worldview impact a person's values? So you're looking at some things that you feel are ethical to you, and then also looking out at Christianity, having a Christian worldview. How does that affect your values? Is it different? Is it more than just a personal opinion? So take those answers to the questions in part A and part B and post those by 11:55 on Thursday night. And again, you have to respond to two other classmates in any faculty post. So if I post something out there, which I will, make sure you respond to that by 11:55 so that you get as many points as possible. And it goes through a little bit of what I've already said there. So that is the main assignment for this week as far as points. However, that is not necessarily the most important assignment. It's important for sure, but this one's only worth 5 points. And yet this is going to shape a lot of the rest of your class. And this is where you pick your topic for your individual paper. So let me just go back actually and just show you kind of how this thread works down through here. So you've got your individual paper topic that you're selecting in session week one. You go down through here and, there's some different things that you go, but here you have a draft of that paper. So this is in week four. So what you're deciding in week one is going to affect week four. You're developing a draft of your paper, and then you're going to go down here, and in session six, you're going to have your individual presentation of that final paper. And then here you're actually going to submit your final paper. So while it's only worth 5 points, it's really important that you get a topic that you're willing to follow throughout this course. You're going to have to develop it fairly significantly. This is going to be major points in your course. You can see that, 70 points here. It's 150 points here. There was another place, 30 points here. So you're talking here, 300 points out of this entire course are based on this individual paper topic selection. So take it seriously. Think about it. I know it's only worth 5 points, so you can ignore it or you can do whatever with it, but it's going to keep coming back up. So pick one that really fits you. And what you're going to do is just submit a short paragraph, 100 words or so, and describe an ethical issue in the workplace. You're going to use APA, so make sure, as you go along, you can wait till the very end, but the more you develop it as you go along, the easier it's going to be in the end. So here's some examples of different things. You could do discrimination on age or gender or race. You could do insider trading, child labor, sexual harassment. There's lots of different things. This is a great use. ChatGPT isn't something that you want to write your paper with, but it is a fantastic option to use AI to think of some different topics. You could write, this is where I work at in this industry. What would be some different ethical issues that I could focus on, specifically in management? So that's what you want to do for this first week. Again, there's the format and the requirements of it, so look through that closely. That's what you'll be graded on, the rubric for each course. But that concludes week one. So you've got 2 assignments that count for points versus discussion posted by Thursday and 2 responses of significance by Sunday night, 11:55. And then you're making a decision on the topic for your ethical paper for this class. Look forward to having you in class. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. I am here to support you.